Welcome to tutorial number 2 of for 12cad.com. That's 12cad.com. In tutorial 1, we covered how to create a project, how to add libraries, and how to create a new schematic. Today, we're going to discuss the schematic window of Eagle, the different options that are available, the menus, and just set you up so you can create a schematic in the future. So as you remember from the previous tutorial, to create a schematic, you go to File, New, and then you have the option of schematic here. So you click on schematic and you should get a pop-up with the schematic. Now you can see it's a black window and we have many options here. So there's two toolbars. The left toolbar is all the options related to schematic management, and on the top is the general saving, zooming, panning, and whatnot. So the first, we will discuss the very important options here today, and in the future tutorials, whenever we need a specific menu or option, we will discuss it. So in general, we have zoom in, zoom out, which is very important. You can zoom in, zoom out this way, or you can use your scroll on your mouse, which is actually, I prefer that. It's much easier. You also have the menu here. You can file, save as, you can print, basic menu. You have edit. You have all your options here. We will discuss some of these today. You can draw various things. This is not related to the circuit board, but you can draw squares and circles to just represent your schematic in a better way. You can add text, for example. So this is the view. Just you have the zoom options here as well. You have some tools, the libraries, and we'll get into that, and various other menus. Now, on the left here, you have the interesting items. So the most interesting is whenever you start a schematic, you're going to need to add components from a library. Now, to add components, which today we're going to use two resistors to show you how that works. But in the future, we'll do a more detailed example. So to add a component, you go to it, then you go to add. So you're going to add a component, and you see a window appeared, and you have all your SparkFun, the libraries we added in the previous tutorial, available here. Now what we want to add is a resistor, so we go to SparkFun resistors, and we can find any resistor. At this moment it doesn't matter, I will discuss these in detail later, and this window will be discussed in detail later as well in a different tutorial. So let's just add a resistor, and you can see the schematic. I can zoom in. This is the schematic representation of a resistor, and what we can do is I want to add another resistor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy an object. You can see that option right here. I have it selected. I will click that, double click this, and there we go. I have two resistors now. I can also delete an object by clicking like this, but since I want it, I'll bring it back. Now, another very important schematic option is naming. Click on my resistor and change it. So I can call it res1, and I can call this res2. It is just for you to keep track, and it comes in handy in a later part. So another thing that's very important is we can change the value. Since when you will be creating your schematic outline and then transferring that into a PCB, it is nice to know exactly what values each resistor or each capacitor, whatever your components are, mean. And so we can change this by clicking on this, and then we can say, okay, this is 1000 ohms, this is 500 ohms. So you see that you can control more or less everything here. Now we can also add more text. So we can add right here, I can add some text and say, this is my resistor network, for example. Sorry. And I can put this text here. This text has no meaning in terms of your PCB. It is just for you to have an organization structure, so everything makes sense to you. So, right, so we've added that. Now, what's now we need to understand how to connect resistors schematically. And you can see here, we can draw an electrical connection, which is called a net. So we can click on the net. We go from one resistor and see we have a connection there, and we can connect it to the next resistor. And now we have a schematical connection between these two resistors. And this will be represented in your circuit board, PCB. We can also do another connection. We can go and you can create a maze. I mean, you can create a connection structure here, and you can have that connection. Now this is a in series resistor network. So now if I want to delete one of these lines, I just click on the delete button like before, and I can delete. I can bring it back with undo, Command Z, or Control Z if you're on a PC. I have the ability to move an object, as you can see here, the option to move. I can click this, select an item, and I can move it around however I please. I have the ability to rotate an object, as you see here. So if I click this, I click on my resistor, I can rotate the resistor. I can go a full 360 degrees rotation. I also have the ability to label my electrical connections, the green, that's called the nets. Here, I can name this net. However, you see the name is not so clear. So what I can do is right click on this text and go properties, and I can change the name down here. Net 1, for example. And you can change it. Now, I've shown you the left toolbar, most of the important aspects. You can also control a lot of the components, the nets, by right-clicking on the components. If you right-click on the components, you get a list of all the options available. I can copy it, delete it, I can move it, I can name my resistor like I did before, I can rotate it, I can change the value of it. You have all these options for both resistors. Now what I also have is for the net. I can also have options for the net. I can add a label to my net, I can delete it, copy it, I can move it, and I can also give it a separate name as well. So as you can see, by adding components, you can create the representation of a breadboard circuit or a circuit you drew up on the schematic right here. And this will allow you to then transfer over to a PCB design later. So overall, in this tutorial, I showed you how the schematic window works, how all the menus work, how the toolbars work, the different options you have available. We practice how to copy and paste. We practice how to move resistors. We practice how to name resistors. We practice how to change the value of the resistors. We practice how to make electrical connections between two components, which in this case are resistors. We practice how to add text like resistor network, you see there below in green. And so these can be applied to any components. It doesn't need to be resistors, it can be an integrated circuit or... So this is the conclusion for tutorial 2. Check out the previous tutorials if you have any confusion, and check out 12cad.com for the detailed explanation of this tutorial. The link is below. Thank you.